Well, the Model UN Security Council meeting takes place each year, and we always come along to see how it's all going. I'm glad we've got the Governor who's been presiding over these since you've been here, haven't you? You've always taken a keen interest in this thing.
I've taken an interest, yes, and played something the role as the pretending to be the UN Secretary General, or pretending to be what they call the President of the Security Council, which is one of the 15 countries that take it in turn to chair the Security Council. And every time, each of the 6 secondary schools on the island puts forward strong teams. They have to put forward more than one team, because each of them has to. There are only 6 schools and there are 15 countries, and sometimes you have a few extra countries who come in as observers and the right to speak, though they can't vote. And today, this topic is Syria, and so the Syrian ambassador to the UN is invited in. He won't have a vote. She won't have a vote on the resolution, but she is invited to speak and justify some of what her government is up to. And because Turkey is so involved in Syria, in this case, the Turks are there too.
This was a subject last year, wasn't it, as well? So it's
yes,
still a hot potato.
So it's still a hot potato. It's still current. It hasn't moved on. I think this resolution is likely to refer to last year's resolution with some dismay on the fact that things haven't moved on. You could pick any one of a series of topics at the moment. I think if you did Nagorno-Karabakh, what's going on between Azerbaijan and Armenia there, or tragically what's happening in Ethiopia now, you could do the same. Ethiopia is a domestic issue, but it's spilling over to all the others, and Nagorno-Karabakh is an international issue from the start. But you have to choose a subject. They chose Syria, and although it's not in the news as much as it used to be, it is still very much a live issue.
And with your diplomatic hat on, you were used to doing these things in your past jobs, right?
Yes, I never worked in a British mission to the UN, either in Geneva or New York, but I visited with others and had a strong interest in seeing how they worked. And so some of the languages and the way you would try and reach a compromise, it's all about language in a resolution. Because in something like Syria, you've got Russia on one side, and you've got the United States and France on another side, UK more on that side as well, in terms of sanction and ferocity of measures against Syria. And if it goes too far, then the Russians will veto, and if it goes too far the other way, so the other three countries won't agree. So it's all a question of finding language which means something slightly different to each member country, if you're honest, even though it sounds good and strong, and is good and strong, and then it's up to the Secretary General, who today, William Kane is kindly standing in as acting Secretary General. It's up to that Secretary General to do a report, and he takes it back to the Security Council, and if they're cross enough with a lack of progress, a month, 2 or 3 later, then they can go further and try and institute sanctions against the offending country. In this case, it would be mostly Syria.
How have these gone over the years? Because it's the first step, isn't it, for a lot of these pupils to find out how this all works, yes, and the language that has to be used in these diplomacies.
I'm always I've been impressed each year with the sixth formers who take on this role, and they do quite a lot of homework, and they really talk themselves into the shoes of the ambassador of, whether it's St. Vincent we've got St. Vincent here from the Caribbean, or Russia or China. And they do that well, and they do some homework on just what the international agreements are, because a lot of this is trying to persuade Syria that motherhood is good, and the motherhood is in the form of the international agreements, human rights agreements, international legal agreements of different sorts. And so you string together a UN Security Council resolution, which says, respect motherhood. But the way to do that is to go back to the existing obligations. Syria's got international obligations just like the rest of us. And if you do that, it makes it harder for them to scramble, but it makes it easier for everyone from, in this case, Russia to the United States to France and the small countries, smaller countries who rotate through what they call the non-permanent membership of the Security Council. It makes it easier for them all to come together and say, yes, this is a reasonable thing to insist that Syria should do in this case.
Well, on the lunch break, so a resolution will come out this afternoon. I mean, do you always get a resolution? Each year you do it. Do they actually agree in the end, or has it been...
They have done. Sometimes you have to compromise a bit. I can't remember whether there was one year we didn't quite.
So a compromise...
That reflects reality as well. Yeah. Sometimes the UN doesn't, and they have to come back to it a week, 2, 3 weeks later, when some more ghastliness has happened on the ground, and people feel even more strongly, and those who are propping up the ghastly state feel a little weaker at the knees and less strong about insisting that they should do so.
This is your last one, isn't it?
Yes, this is the last one.
I'll be interviewing you at some point, your exit interview as such, but you're getting sort of the last of everything coming up now, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm in denial about leaving.
You'll miss us?
Very much.
I'm not leaving you.
I'm in.
The Isle of Man.
I'm in denial about leaving the Isle of Man.
Really?
Yes. I mean, it'll happen. That's fine. That's right. 5 years is the right sort of time for a lieutenant governor here. But but I'm not going to make any preparations to leave just yet.
Oh, you're a bit teary there on this. Yeah.
No. Because
but
I'll pack up in the spring, but not before.
You've come quite attached to us.
No, very attached indeed. Yeah. I feel very much at home here.